God would never judge anyone on a standard they were unaware of. And therefore, nobody goes to hell simply because of an accident of geography or history. In other words, nobody goes to hell simply because they didn't believe in Jesus. There's a different standard at play here, and this is the argument that Paul gives in the book of Romans. That book is a response in part to this very question, at least the first couple of chapters. And he argues, listen, it is not the case that people exist that don't have the information they need to know that they owe their allegiance to a God of the universe, and they owe their behavior to his moral standards. And in the first chapter, he says the creation gives abundant evidence, and there's a lot of this has been explored recently, abundant evidence of the existence of God, that he isn't the creature and the creator are two different things, and we should be worshiping the creator, not the creature. Yet people, as Paul puts it, suppress that. They know better, but they hold it down, and they do so because of wickedness in their hearts. They don't want to bend the knee to their creator, rather they want to go the other direction. And Paul says they're there without excuse. There's no good excuse for this. They know enough. Secondly, he says in the second chapter that not only do they know enough in the first chapter that God exists and they should bend their knee to him, but they ought to know that their behavior is going to be judged by him. There is right and wrong. It's a law that's written in their heart. Even people who don't have the law, the book, the Bible, already know right and wrong because they judge things right or wrong in their behaviors all the time. And we can see this throughout cultures around the world. He said, it isn't as if people don't have what they need. They have what they need. What do they do with what they have? That's the question. And what they do is they readily follow false systems of belief in rebellion against the true God and continue to commit crimes against him for which they'll be held responsible. These are not ignorant people that don't know right from wrong. And those that are in an unusual circumstance of not knowing right from wrong, little infants and whatever, then I don't think that God holds them responsible for something they don't know. But as far as all these others, they know that. They may not have ever known Jesus, and they will not be judged for rejecting a Jesus they've never met or heard of. But they will be judged for rejecting the Father, whose evidence is everywhere. That's Paul's argument. I have a little sequence that I go through to try to put this in its right perspective, because I do think that the view that the Bible offers does resonate with our deepest intuitions when those intuitions are carefully considered. I don't think it resonates with an American sense of fairness, but that is a twisted sense. There is no fairness doctrine in heaven. It isn't written in the clouds somewhere that God has to treat everyone exactly the same. If that were the case, then grace would not be grace. Grace is God's unmerited favor. There is no obligation on God's part. It's an act, in a sense, of loving heroism that he would go out to rescue anybody when we are so guilty against him. It is an act of his grace, his favor that is not required. Therefore, he can distribute his grace as he pleases, which is exactly what the Scriptures teach. God's obligation is not to love everybody equally or treat everybody the same. God's obligation is to treat people with justice. That's the obligation. Love and mercy and kindness are given freely at God's desire and design, not out of obligation, or else it wouldn't be love and mercy and charity, would it? It wouldn't be grace.